Got it.
Okay. Hi, everybody. This is Pankaj Gupta from EthAum Partners. We are a deep tech accelerator and fund based in Singapore with approximately 90 startups in the portfolio. Monitair is one of the portfolio startups that we onboarded in January 2023. They are highly focused on making sure that indoor air quality is perfect for the real estate spaces. Real estate has been one industry which was slow moving. We used to think that, hey, this doesn't innovate that much. And that was one of the frustrations with the real estate industry. But things are changing extremely fast with a rapid pace. And one of the reasons is thanks to all the initiatives and requirements with respect to sustainability, healthy buildings, smart buildings, and so on and so forth. And now we are seeing there's so much innovation happening in this space. And that's the reason that we really wanted to have this panel to discuss what kind of innovations industry leaders are seeing in the real estate space, what kind of policies, what kind of trends are disrupting the industry that are making you stunned, that are making you surprised, obviously, pleasantly. Now, without further delay, I would request Edward to do a very brief intro of Monitair, and then I would move on to the panelists to do an introduction of themselves, and then we'll get into the panel. Edward?
Thank you, Pankaj. So I do a quick introduction of myself. So my name is Edward. I'm the business director at Monitair Solutions. I'm very glad to meet all the panelists here. And I look after the Asia Pacific region. Our company specializes in end-to-end air quality treatment and monitoring solutions. So we basically offer a more comprehensive indoor air quality solution for different applications and provide the latest technology, which includes part A is a air treatment device using bipolar ionization technology. And the second part is more or less an IAQ sensor measuring parameters for end user to access. So thank you, Pankaj.
Thanks a lot, Edward. Now I would request Sumit to do a brief introduction. Sumit.
Hi everyone, great to be here. I'm Sumit from Climate Angels in India. We are an India-registered angel fund that invests only in pollution reduction climate tech startups. We've been investing for the past 18 months, about 12 investments made, and these are across climate tech sectors, mobility, D2C brands, within a very similar air pollution startup, but more on the industrial level in terms of air purification and industries on shop floors. So we have about 500 investors who are registered on our platform, and 100 plus have already invested through us. So yeah, that's a quick about us.
Thanks a lot, Sumit. I think it will be exciting to hear an opinion of an investor, because I'm sure you must be seeing hundreds of pitches in this particular space every quarter, or probably even more frequent. Adrian.
Yes, hi. Thank you very much for having us and UTech. So UTech's been around for over 20 years. It's essentially a company that deals with smart buildings and smart cities. We have about 300 million square feet under management. And what we do is essentially sustainability, smart FM, and smart workplace, integrating lots of different moving parts, which obviously we'll discuss today. So thank you very much.
Thanks a lot, Adrian. Really appreciate your time today. Eric?
Yes, hello. My name is Erik Froman. I am from Akademiska Hus in Sweden. I'm the Director of Sustainability. I'm also part of the executive management team here. So we are Sweden's third largest real estate company. We have pretty much most of the universities here and work a lot with, together with scientists as well in the universities to achieve our goals. So about 900 buildings, 11 billion US dollars property value. And our biggest challenge now is that we are going carbon neutral by 2035, which means that we got to reduce our emissions by 85% in about a 12-year period. So we're using a lot existing tech, but also looking for new tech to go here. So it's real now. Emissions are coming down, and it's happening, and we need all the help we can get.
That's a humongous objective, Eric. Really appreciate your time today. Okay, let me go to Ibrahim now. Ibrahim? Somehow your audio is not working. Let me move on to Shitsugur, and I'm sure Ibrahim will be able to
Can you
come
hear
back
me?
soon. Yes, Ibrahim, please go ahead.
Okay, perfect. I just play with the setup of the Zoom. Yeah, nice to meet with everyone here. First of all, my name is Ibrahim Kocagöz. I'm Engineering Solutions Director at PCS Thailand. PCS Thailand is biggest and strongest engineering, security and cleaning services provider in Thailand with 32,000 people only in Thailand. And we are exist in 12 countries globally. Since 55 years in Thailand, we are providing services, and definitely sustainability, smart solutions are one of our main goals. My expertise is coming from the smart cities. I'm in Thailand since 2018. I work in another company also as a technical director for the big mega projects in terms of smart cities. And I was in Middle East for 10 years as a smart city project manager for one of the big smart cities in Qatar, Lusail Smart City. In Thailand, we are trying to encourage, of course, our clients to go sustainability, green, and energy efficiency. And in this case, definitely we are not technology provider, but we are using the latest technologies as much as we can in order to provide solutions, energy-saving solutions, sustainably to meet with the sustainability goals. We have got more than 5,000 clients in Thailand, so it's a big number, and we have a big role in Thailand. Also, PCS, I mean, we are trying to be full sustainable, trying to make ourselves net zero also. This is also our mission. Thank you very much for this chance, Pankaj. This will be a nice session, I believe.
Thanks a lot, Ibrahim. Shitsugur, please.
Thank you very much, Pankaj. Thank you very much for having me. So my name is Chizgir Vida, and I realize that my name is quite complicated. Here on the panel, we already had a conversation about that. I'm a partner and ESG consultant in the Volfius Group, and we assist large, small real estate companies in creating strategies, setting their goals and creating strategies to obtain those goals. And that goes from what we've heard, climate neutrality already, and that, of course, therefore includes also the social aspects of ESG. And a large part of that is, of course, how people feel within the buildings in real estate.
Fantastic. Thanks a lot, Shitsugur. Again, really appreciate our panelists' time today. This is going to be an exciting panel, considering the diverse nature of the panel that we have today. Edward, now I'm sure you will have very interesting, awesome time asking all these questions and getting feedback from the panelists. Please go ahead, start with your questions.
Okay, thank you. So I'm your moderator for today, and I'm very excited. We have 5 panelists, distinguished guests here. So there are a couple of questions which we like to discuss. So as the first one, as real estate sustainability leaders, for all of you in your line of expertise, what do you think your biggest frustration will be in parts of ecosystem, policymakers locally, or even startups? So may I call Ibrahim first to give your insights?
Definitely, Edward. It's a very nice question. Actually, it is a challenge for us sometimes to encourage the clients why there is no clear policies for many things. I mean, we can start from solar energy up to the like green building certification or net carbon zero goals of the companies, what they can get, what are the enforcement on this road is not clear, of course. So it gives flexibility, especially I'm specifically talk about Thailand since I'm here. So I was in Middle East also, but let me talk a bit about in Thailand, so it can give more value to the listeners. Yeah, so there is no clear prices, of course. So what does it mean? So it gives flexibility. However, if there was clear regulations, policies that like certain type of buildings or companies that they have to follow in order to reduce carbon monoxide emission, so it will encourage them, it will force them to go sustainable and use innovation or other solutions, even it's a brownfield or a greenfield, let's say building. And they have to consider, of course, so there is a regulation, there is a reinforcement about this one. However, there is a flexibility, it's not clear in Thailand. And so energy is vested, people, construction companies, they are trying to reduce their construction costs in the short term, of course. However, it increases operation cost. Definitely regulations, policies are important. It has to be settled. This is what we are saying since years. We cannot leave it to the only private sector. If you leave it to the private sector, everybody will look, of course, especially construction companies, they will look to the short term of savings. So they will say, okay, I'm building this building, let me build as much as cheaper. No insulation, let's say one example, on the roof, no insulation on the walls, no control systems, no need. The tenants, when they started using the buildings, so they can run the cooling system more because otherwise they cannot cool. So these are, or the materials also that they need to procure, they can procure from anywhere else. So there is no restrictions, plus there is no like promotions also, you know, I mean, it can be also like government can say, okay, construction company, if you meet with these goals, okay, you can build maybe more areas, or you can get you can pay less taxes, tax of course. Such kind of encouragement also is not there. So these are giving, of course, companies more flexibility and gray area, and definitely as companies that we are trying to encourage the clients or promote sustainability and also renewable energy, it is giving us challenging time, definitely. Thank you.
Yeah, great. I think, yeah, we need quite a lot of support, buy-in, from the local government side. Like Adrian, if you may, from Europe side, any kind of insights?
So I'm actually in Singapore, but I can also talk about Europe. I'm actually based in Singapore, but I'm French, so that's probably the European side of my humble self. No, I think, I think we'll say similar things, so I'll just try and pick on one. For me, the tricky part is, obviously, you have the certifications and having everything under one unified way of talking. There are so many different conversations. Each country has its own way of doing things. But, if I use Eric's example, if you don't mind, he's got a cut by 85% something, which, had you asked maybe before COVID, it wouldn't have gone on anyone's radar. So the thing is, for me, the frustrating thing is everyone is talking about what we do here in this call, but when you come and see a client, it's, yeah, but let's talk about price. There's a huge paradigm shift which is happening in the world, but when you actually get it and bring it to a commercial aspect, you're talking about, okay, so I've got this supplier of BMS and I've got this supplier of HVAC and I've got this. So how can you basically cut my cost of integration? The actual overall objective, which is to lower your carbon emissions and make, I say this to make the world a better place, to quote good old Michael, and that's what we're all trying to do. there's something that's not working, and I think governments have to intervene. And I think Singapore, by obviously raising the carbon tax levels by a significant amount, that will play a good role in the carrot and the stick, which governments have to do to a certain extent. So I think for me the issue is regulation, but also have the ESG, so the governance part of the ESG, really structured for organizations to change the way they behave and the way their employees are actually expecting things from the employer. Because today it's still too commercial. It's not implemented because we have to. It's implemented because it's a good thing to have on paper.
Yeah, thank you. I think we can resonate on having everyone commit on a climate pledge, becoming more of a marketing pitch rather than an actual action. Anyway, from the investor kind of view, would Samit give us some insight?
Yeah, thanks, Edward. See, so yeah, I'm not a real estate sustainability leader, but I'm very thankful to be here. But the way we look at real estate sector and sustainability opportunities, let's call it, one is during construction and the other one is during operation. So for us, it's very clearly two aspects. Unfortunately, the frustration is that for construction and building materials, real estate assets are built for decades. It's not a FMCG product that you can test and iterate and develop very quickly. These have to be tested for stress testing or for longer duration wear and tear and things like that. So it's very difficult. Those labs are not available to a lot of engineering colleges, even in India. I'm sure the situation might be different world over, but the time horizon to test new solutions during that phase is very difficult. So I don't see, if somebody comes to me also, it's very difficult to validate such solutions for us in India. I've seen a few come out of Singapore, no doubt about it. And on the other side is, when you have running operational spaces, yes, we look at stuff which is energy efficiency. We look at stuff which is air purification. Energy efficiency is a huge subject that one evaluates. Again, the frustration there is how many new technologies can you really test as an asset owner? It's very difficult. So, and there will be a small delta innovation that will come every 3 months. So how do you make those heavy infrastructure investments? Do you make that every 3 months, or how do you go about it? So I think they're inherent in the nature, but there are a few things that I've definitely seen over the recent past that will definitely move the needle substantially. It's not a decimal change, but let's say substantial change, and that really helps whenever such things. There are a couple of technologies. I don't want to go into that right now, but yeah, you're looking for where the needle shift is substantial, so that stickiness will be there.
Yeah, definitely. There's the mindset change, especially from all the way from the organization, from the leadership, all the way down throughout to the strategy and also execution. And like you mentioned, there are so many different technologies, how to keep track of them. Mm-hmm. Yes, thank you. And then for Eric, would you have any kind of insight for us?
Yes, I do. I think it's a little bit different. I forgot to say we're also a government-owned company, so we do have the Swedish government as our owners, and we do have an expectations to be a leader in sustainability, and that's very clearly communicated to us. So I've been here about a year, and I went up to the board of directors, and the first feedback was, thanks for your carbon goals, but you got to show how we're going to reach them. Enough talking, we got to see exactly what are you going to do. So this is sort of what we've been working on for the past year, and then we do realize a few things. I can say, like in general, in Europe, the European Union is putting out a lot of regulation regarding this, and it's pushing quite hard. So we having that side, and it's also a lot of money coming as well that's going to be released linked to this with the EU taxonomy and different ways of how you actually see what is a sustainable asset. So I think the regulation here is a little bit different, which also creates, for us, is rather the opposite. It's more like a climate risk. If we don't change, what's going to happen? So we kind of generally believe that our business will be gone in 10 years if we don't change. You won't exist. So at least here, it's very highly competition to get a quick move on. Otherwise, and that's both motivated by limiting the risks to the financial market. So when we talk to international investors, there's a risk if you don't do well in regards to carbon, for example, or other environmental issues or sustainability issues. But there's also an opportunity, and I think this, like in a global context, at least the way we look at it here in Sweden, is this is the opportunity of the world for us. You know, we built the industries after the Second World War, pretty much because we weren't so affected by it, so we had an advantage there. And then slowly in Europe, sort of industries have gone down a little bit, even if Sweden's been able to keep up pretty well. And now we have this green industrial revolution that is already creating so many jobs here. So this is like the opportunity for us to really compete and get an advantage on the global scale. So I would say that if companies are not on top of this, you kind of better look at your risks in the long term, and you have to understand that other parts are pushing very hard, and you might be outcompeted quite soon unless you get your ducks in a row. Pretty much, I would say. But we have big challenges, of course. I mean, and we're actually equaling carbon footprint with financials in our company now. So when we're investing in new products, we're also evaluating the carbon footprint, and we have created a carbon budget for all of our activities, which means that if we have too high carbon emissions, we won't build it. We have to stop the construction cranes. There's no other option. So we're actually limiting new construction in order to achieve our carbon goals. And I think this is somewhere we have to get to this, and we have to also start questioning, do we actually need new buildings? Do you really? I mean, my wife's from Singapore. Do you really need to tear down all your HDBs and build new condos? Do you? Is it necessary? Or is it a part of the business? I mean, this is something they also have to start questioning and see, what do we actually need? What do we need for happiness? What do we need for human beings? And how, you know, we are running out of time. So action is now to really see about that. But I'll probably say, like, in terms of challenges, of course, we have challenges with digital twins, technical, getting all this stuff in. We work a lot with that. Sensors for presence to measure how we actually use spaces so we can optimize them. We have an issue with transparency in emissions. We're trying to be as transparent as we can, but suppliers are not providing all the data, so we got to push quite hard and all that stuff. So yeah, there's plenty of frustrations, but the hope is here. It's happening. It's coming in a big wave. That's sort of what we're seeing, and that's what we got to do anyways.
All right, thank you. Yes, definitely the urgency, and also we all try to reduce waste in all means. So can I pass it to, if you don't mind, I just name you TJ for your comments.
Yeah, no problem at all. Yeah, thanks. Well, some of the frustrations that I see have been mentioned. I would like to start with pointing out that operating in Europe is kind of a huge benefit because European regulation is advancing quite well. There's a very clear goal set by the European Union to obtain carbon neutrality by 2050. And the European Union is doing everything in its power to adapt existing directives, policies to obtain those goals, which especially now also in the real estate sector kind of puts the thumb screws on. And of course, here in Europe, in my native country of the Netherlands, we've seen that the country itself was actually sued and by Klimaatneutraal, an organization that fights for more rapid changes within policy, and that organization won, which means that the Netherlands as a country just has to move quicker. So that is one of the big benefits, and it's not a frustration. I'm very happy to see this happening within the European space. Now then, of course, Ibrahim mentioned cost. I heard, I heard in between the lines, let's say, the profit motive. The profit motive is most of the time still leading, even though sometimes we should ask ourselves, Eric said that, is it really necessary to go for the profit in this case, or should we really make the sustainable choice? One of the things that we see, however, is that there is a lack of understanding of how much can be done. And the larger companies, they kind of have an idea what can be done. And they thankfully have, not all of them, but they thankfully have the manpower on board. But one of the things that we see here in Europe is that the smaller companies that are not on the stock market, for example, they lack the skills and knowledge in-house to get where they want to go, because they are very motivated, but very often they just we see that they don't know where to start, and they don't realize how fast you can move. Carbon has been mentioned a few times, and one of the just recently we worked with a client where we set out their solar strategy for logistics buildings, where there is a huge opportunity, because floor space very often, and especially in logistics, equals roof space, and roof space means renewable energy, solar energy. And by taking advantage of space like that, movements can be made very quickly. And what we see is that the realization of items like that is not at a level where we would like to see it. We do see it growing very quickly. But yeah, those kinds of knowledge points are items that we run up against in Europe.
Wow, thank you. Yeah, speaking about the space on the roof, translating into the solar energy. I think also, I'm based in Hong Kong. Our power company also has taken the initiative. I think there's quite a bit of government subsidy as well to utilize that space and translate into the solar energy. Good. So coming to the.
Sorry for interrupting. I think Eric has raised his hand. Eric, do you want to make a point over here?
Yeah, I would just like to comment the previous speaker. I also have a problem pronouncing your name, even if we're both from Europe. Sorry about that. But it's completely true. The whole everything you say with the cost and knowledge, and I'd just like to enforce that. Like, most of the actions needed to reduce carbon footprints is also profitable. It's just a matter of finding the right, calculating in the right way. If we calculate in the old way, no, it's not going to be profitable, but you have to find new ways. We have access to green financing, and just including it correctly in the financial calculations means that it becomes profitable as well. So I think there's plenty of opportunities to really go hand in hand with financial benefit. Sometimes you just have to look a little bit longer. Yeah, you look short profit now, but what about, you get it back over 10, 20 years in multiples, some of the investments, for example, energy efficiency, solar panels, all that kind of stuff. So I just like to reinforce that I think there's a knowledge gap sometimes, and actually how to make sustainability profitable is a really important aspect.
Yeah, definitely. The financial side has to come in, work on it as well. If no other comments on this one, can I move to the second question? The second question will be, if you had a superpower to bring some positive change in the industry, then what kind of change would you bring? and why? So this time, can I have Adrian to start first?
So firstly, if I had a superpower, I'm not quite sure how I would use it, but on the assumption I did have to use it for this, I think the key to this is adoption. And the key that whatever we have, we can have. So basically all the tech that we need to solve the problems today that we have is here. So let's say there is no more innovation starting from this evening. We have enough tech for the next 2 decades to sort the problems. So we don't need to, I mean, innovation obviously is fantastic, but if people don't understand it, and Eric clearly said it, and TJ said it too, it's about finance. It all comes down to money once, as always. So if I may take a mobile phone as a comparison, I had a BlackBerry. I was on top of the world. My company had given me a BlackBerry, and the iPhone came out. And I had the initial reflex to say, "Oh, I need a keyboard. This is I must have a keyboard on my phone. I can't have I can't tap on a screen. It just won't work." And the thing is, the main issue that we face as professionals is the resistance to change. But the resistance to change that we face, it's not about the technology, because the technology, as I said before, they just don't understand it. So my superpower would be to teach, like a machine, implant something in every single person's brain to fully understand the absolute necessity to do what we need to do, like now. Not tomorrow, like not in a week, now. My superpower would be, and there are many films like Lucy, you can take a pill and you understand everything faster and quicker, and you have the visibility of everything that moves and the world goes faster. That's my superpower, is to understand when you go and see a client, he goes, no, I get it. No, I absolutely understand it. I don't need to do a POC. I understand it. So, right, let's go. And it's no longer a question of price, it's a question of outcome. So if I'm a hospital, the POC is no longer needed. I just need to fine tune our technology a little bit, because the hospital will have a specific use case. And then you go to a school, the school will have a specific use case. A commercial building, we have a specific use case. So my superpower would be to transmit that absolute urgency through a sort of matrix, blue pill, red pill in every single person in the world, for them to fully understand the absolute necessity to implement sustainability today.
Thank you. I think, yes, education, and more importantly, is really to act now, like Adrian mentioned. So can I also have Sumit to give us some insight?
Very interesting question, Edward. The superpower that I would like to enable, and this is not a personal superpower or anything, or just I know what is it that is missing, or something like that. I'm not Adrian. I'm not very sure if I think we've reached the epitome of innovation, and if we are there and all those solutions exist. I'm not entirely convinced there. So my thing that I would like to see in the industry is more test beds, more testing labs that we can get. Our problems of scale in India are very different from Europe, very different from Singapore. We don't have the large infrastructure available, or a lot of it is going to be decentralized. So we need more. For me, somehow enablement of more testing or more spaces to test solutions. If that could be done, that would be superpower to a lot of innovators to get enabled and bring out their solutions. So yeah, more test beds.
More test beds. Okay, great. Thank you, Sumit. And can I pass to Eric?
Okay, well, this was a really hard question. I've never thought about it like that, but yeah, I was sort of bouncing between two different ideas, and one was kind of based a little bit on the what you said previously with the implementation and scale up, that seems to be so hard for us as humans in general. Everywhere it's hard to actually learn and actually implement things from the past that we've done great, and just, okay, this works, let's just do it everywhere. That seems to be incredibly hard to get to. And my other thought was more linked to, very on everyone's agenda now, AI, and actually, can we get AI to actually start solving our problems, actually showing us the way? You know, how do we build as carbon efficient as possible? You know, what is the best solution? I kind of feel like the human brain is a little bit too hard to tackle some of these in an efficient way, circularity and all this kind of stuff. So what kind of needs to be done? Just some sort of impartial, non-politicized view. This is what humans got to do. Essentially, maybe it would be that.
Yeah, maybe we would be granted this superpower and all help improve the climate change issue. So next one, can I have TJ to give us some insight?
Yeah, well, everybody said so far, this is a very interesting question. I agree with it. And if I could have a superpower, it's more that I would like to give everybody a superpower, which is to see the future and to feel the future. Because one of the things that I see is, and we see that a little bit more with the politicization of the entire topic. People saying, "Oh yeah, but climate change is not really happening," whereas the science is very clear, and the science says some very big, important cities are going to disappear: New York, Miami, Amsterdam, London. I'm a little bit less familiar with countries in Asia. My apologies for that. But Singapore, I believe, is definitely a city that would disappear. And so I would like everybody to have the superpower of being able to see that and to feel that and to feel the consequences of what is about to happen. And I say about to happen because I mentioned my native country is the Netherlands. I live in Spain. It is now April, and we are having temperatures that would be normal for June, July, and it's the second year in a row. And I think having that superpower of feeling and seeing what is about to happen would create an enormous mindset change, where a term that I haven't used in a very heard in a long time, the triple bottom line becomes quite important again. So not only profit matters, but, and going back to what Eric said earlier, is it really necessary? And something a good friend of mine said recently, right? A lot of companies right now have a director of ESG, but no company has a director of profit. That says quite a lot about where the mindset is. So my superpower would be, as I mentioned, for people to be able to see and feel what is about to happen. And I hope that that would create that mindset change towards ESG is as important as profit, because sustainability is making sure that your company exists financially, but very definitely physically, 50, 100, 150 years from now. So that will be it.
No, interesting. It's something that we can take from Eric's suggestion, using the AI solution and have the AI simulate and a whole experience for human about, you know, what we are about to see in the future. That would definitely put some scare on us. Okay, so for the next one, can I have Ibrahim, if you have any comment?
Yes, Edward, definitely. This is a good chance if I can have a power in my hand to change, especially on the sustainability. This is I'm expecting since long time to get this power. So let's say I have this power today. definitely I will put regulations. Otherwise, you know, I mean, we are saying population is growing. If we don't control the this growth, this population, definitely human, you know, I mean, some of them different, every people are different character, every company is a different character, different name. This has to be regulated. So basically we need to regulate all this waste of energy, especially. First of all, we need to start from reducing the energy consumption. So I'm not talking about only electricity. I'm talking about water, gas, also, of course, garbage as well. Even, I mean, consuming of the food, clothes, all these products, we need to reduce it. We have got one world at the moment, one green world. So we need to protect it, and we need to transfer this protected world to our future generation, which is our kids, basically. At least we need to give it to them in a condition that we got it from our fathers, mothers, right? So definitely this power will be used for the regulations to monitor, to control the consumption of anything else. So it can be start from the utilities. There can be some certain rates if a person it can be calculated very easily, right? I mean, for apartments, for shop, for factories, and there can be different rates. Some countries, especially on West Europe, they are doing these regulations, policies very successfully. People cannot waste as much as they can. They cannot throw. They need to pay for their waste also. And this is a very good example. And I have written an article about the public transportation also. Developed country doesn't mean that poor people has got expensive cars. Developed country means rich people, they use public transportation, right? So this article, I like it really. So definitely in order to do this one, like Singapore is also another good example, right? When I was in Middle East, I was smart city project manager. So part of our smart city vision, it's one of the most transportation, of course, transportation, roads, public transportation. In the Middle East, of course, cars are cheap, petrol is cheap, and we were saying first we need to provide public transportation to the citizens. Then we can encourage the citizens to use the public transportation. But we saw that it's a bit challenge. It's still even you put the best bus, best tram. It looks like even the citizens. I mean, the country population was around 2 million, and 70–80% of them was expats. But still, I mean, including the expats, majority of the people, they love to use their own personal vehicle, their car. So they don't want to go because of the climate conditions also, of course. However, similar climate conditions as Singapore, I went there because this was a challenge. We built the best infrastructure, best roads, public transportation, connected public transportation, but we had got concerns too, whether how we can encourage the people. And when I went to Singapore, I see a small country similar to Qatar, no traffic problem. It's very strange. How is it possible? Okay, smart traffic system. This is what we designed also. So I came to know that there are taxes for if you want to buy a car, own a car. It's, in my opinion, it's smart. But in order to do this one, they build the infrastructure. They have a public transportation everywhere. Everybody can use it, from disabled person to the kids, families. Everybody can use because this is told as part of the city plan. So then they put on top of it regulations. So they are saying we build the infrastructure. You have that alternative. You don't need to buy a car. So this is the first thing that it's coming in my mind to enforce such kind of regulations in order to reduce the waste, even the expenses of the people. You know, I mean, we can ask them to pay more taxes. As I mentioned to you, we need to reduce our consumption in every field, from utilities to the personal life.
No, thank you. That's very interesting. Yeah, I mean, yeah, we can all start to action on doing something small to optimize the energy footprint that we are leaving behind. And if there are no further comment, can I jump to the next question? It's more on the new technology. I think we brought it up. Technologies such as AI and machine learning, or even data science, blockchain. How important do you think these kind of technologies will play in the disruption in the real estate space? So this time, can I start with Sumit to give us some insight?
Not directly linked with real estate, but we've seen deal flow around AI, ML, data science, at least. In waste, there is a lot of conversations. In energy, there is a lot of conversations around these technologies. From blockchain, there is refi and a few other solutions that would have come up. But unfortunately, we've not invested yet in any of these solutions. Of the 12 investments, I think 6 are very hard innovations and patentable solutions around mobility or air pollution So until now, we've not found. It could be also. But yeah, some very interesting startups I remember out of data science and ML in waste management, replacing some traditional spectrometers with you can just analyze using a mobile phone or 12 megapixel camera, and you don't need complex spectrometers and things like that. But per se, yeah, no, we're looking more at hard problems and innovations.
Okay, thank you. And can I pass it to Eric for your comments?
All right. Well, we actually have quite a big innovation department here, but I'm sort of trying to think of the latest ones we're up to. But I think there's kind of 2 things that we are struggling a little bit here, at least. I mean, one of them is the global issue, of course, is with the traceability, tracking items all the way from where is it manufactured, what's the raw materials used, all the way to the end customer, and actually get transparency in there. And for example, blockchain could definitely help with that. Could have a great benefit. So, I mean, we're looking at QR codes, where you have on your food items and all this kind of stuff to actually get into the construction materials, so we can track everything. So both in terms of what's coming in, but also when you start looking at this whole circular economy, which means that we're going to swap to a lot of reused materials, for example. So that is a big challenge when it comes to the whole inventory stock. How do we keep track of that? How do we put QR codes or similar items on reused material? What's the warranties, for example, of a door that's 20 years old? Are we going to get warranty or we're not going to get warranty? There's a lot of issues like that in this transition that we sort of see. So I think that's something interesting in terms of innovation, just knowing better knowledge through the whole supply chain. I would probably raise as one thing that's really important, and particularly when you're moving into a circular economy, which we have to do anyways, because building materials are being more expensive now with this whole inflation, everything. We have more people, etc. So that becomes even more important to manage risk. Not only about lowering the carbon footprint.
Okay, thank you. No, that's very interesting. I think the inventory headache that you mentioned also resonate with one of our previous speaker at Carrier, air conditioning manufacturer. He also expressed managing the inventory, be able to do the analysis, on how to keep reuse parts is such a big headache. Okay. So next one, can I have a TJ on the mic?
Yeah. So from what I see recently, is that I think, I'm not sure, firstly, if I want to talk about the word disruption. It's more advancements of what's already happening. But I think one item where new technology can definitely help, beyond, let's say, changing things within the building, is accounting. Recently, I've started, and I have experience with, for example, carbon accounting, and there are platforms that offer that, and there is advancement. But I think technology can help us a lot with creating better insights in what is currently happening within a real estate company. And there, I'm thinking about smart metering, which I can read out, on a platform. Now, those types of technologies already exist, but creating faster insights, deeper insights, and analyses. And when you think, for example, about AI, technologies like that can also help you predict where you want to go and what it is that you need to do based on real-time data that you have through the systems that you have, hopefully, in place. And another item that I think would really be disruptive, by the way, is a very detailed insight into the risks that climate change bring. So because we have all kinds of models about how the climate is going to change over the next decades, until the end of the century at least, and very precise information on what effect that would have on a building, a type of building in a particular location. I think that would be very helpful for a lot of organizations, because you can have two different buildings within the same city, and those buildings have different needs. Or you can have two similar buildings in different locations, and they have different needs as well. So more detailed information, I think, could come from new technologies, and that would be very helpful in guiding real estate companies in very specific actions that they can take.
Very interesting. I think I can learn more about the carbon accounting, which you mentioned. I PM you later. So next, for Ibrahim, while you're in the facilities management side, you see a lot of new technologies. So is there any kind of insight you can share with us?
This is true. As I highlighted at the beginning, especially solutions, we are not technology provider, but we are following up the latest technology very closely and selecting, of course, the best ones where we can provide our efficient services, such as, for example, we are operation company. We are doing operation and maintenance. It is one of our services besides security and cleaning. Also for the security and cleaning, we have got some solutions from different vendors. But especially for operation maintenance, we are, instead of sending technicians to check the temperatures on the different type of utilities, we are using sensors to collect this information to a platform. So definitely we are reducing the man-hour and increasing the accuracy of the information and data. So it's not only manpower reduction, and also correct data we are collecting, and of course more efficient. So we can move, reduce manpower to another site that we are looking for additional people. So this is especially for the manpower companies, to find skilled people is already a challenge. And technology, good technology, of course. I mean, there are many solutions now. Everybody says, I have a solution, smart camera solution, AI solution, energy solution. But many startups, many companies, they are doing. We need to really evaluate. We need to see whether it can really increase our efficiency, reduce your cost. That's also another thing. But sometimes you cannot expect only cost reduction. There are why, like in Thailand, okay, electricity is expensive. Any renewable energy or solution that you implement, return on investment is very short. So there is of course, value on the cost as well. But for the water, I cannot say the same thing because water is quite cheap in Thailand. So when you propose irrigation system, automatic irrigation system for the green areas, it's a expensive and solution and compared to the other countries because water is quite cheap here. But if you are focusing on the money, but if you focus reducing the water consumption, still we have to implement this solution. So there are two aspects, of course. What is our goal? So our goal has to be sustainability first, and on top of it, if you can reduce your cost, it's plus definitely. Yeah, regarding again technologies is very important. So it has to be supported with the government also. These kind of initiatives. There are very smart ideas. People are coming with top engineers, university students. This has to be encouraged and awarded, of course. And for the security also, we are using solutions. We are not using basically solid manpower. We put camera systems, access control systems, instead of having all this access control and premises monitoring by the people. We implement technology also, and we reduce manpower. Plus, also again, accuracy of the data, so we can record every single thing what's happening over there. So yeah, and we need to follow up the technology closely. That's important. And I'm especially personally, I'm joining as much as events, exhibitions, conferences, or fairs that I can see the latest technology. This has to be done with all the business people, engineers, sales people, marketing people, to see the latest technologies, not to stay behind of the technology. It's not only the best car or latest mobile phone in the world. It's we need to really look to the solutions where it can help us reducing our consumption in terms of utilities, as I mentioned it earlier. Thanks, Edward.
Okay, thank you. I like you when you mentioned having all these sensors installed. I think the next thing is getting them connected as well, so that would be very helpful to different kind of data. So for Adrian, I understand you have a lot of experience in having these new technologies on your portfolio or on your platform. Any kind of comment you can share with us?
Yeah. So, I mean, a lot of it from a technical point of view has been said, but yeah, our platform, I'll give you just a few examples, but basically we manage either portfolios. So we actually have our platform that manages one city, an entire city. So it goes from the road management, all the municipality buildings, hospitals, schools, etc. Then we go to portfolios where you have obviously operators and all landlords that have hundreds to hundreds of buildings. And then you have a single building. So we have a single platform that basically brings in all the data, creates automatic visualization of all the data, and pushes it back to whoever needs that specific information. And we adapt it to whether it's an FM operator, whether it's a property manager, whatever it is. But the key thing here is not to talk about us, but it's to talk about the ecosystem of startups. And I'll give you two examples. So having been a startup myself before, the innovation, and going back to Sumit's comment earlier on, I know we don't, like, of course, we need more innovation. I understand that. All I said is we have enough innovation today to solve enough problems. But of course, we're nowhere near as close as we could be, but we have enough. Which leads me to the key issue that I find. It's not the tech, it's the go-to-market. It's the commercial aspect. I have met so many engineers, so many startups that have incredible ideas who can solve the world's problems. They're generally between, let's say, 20 and 30. They have a great product, but then they've built it in a silo. So when they go to a portfolio or to a building or to a real estate operator, they go, well, hang on, your product's fantastic, but do you have the capacity to actually make 3,000 sensors? Because I'm going to roll you out in my 4 buildings, but that's only in one country. So I actually need probably 400,000 sensors if you want to actually do this properly. So the issue is not the tech. There is the tech. The tech exists. The people exist. What happens is that, and I've seen this in the last year, you have huge organizations worth tens and hundreds of billions of dollars that have bought these startups and have actually stalled the innovation because it competes with their core model, which is to sell hardware with a very thin layer of software. Well, when you take all these IoT vendors, when you take all these IoT that will solve internal equality issues like you do, that will solve occupancy management issues, that will solve visitor management with QR code, facial recognition. If you take all of those, there's hundreds of thousands, but the thing is they don't have the ability to scale. So the technology is there, but we have to help or create so you do have, like Pankaj, that you have these incubators that try and push these guys up and bring them the management structure to get them to market. But I think that's the key issue, is there are plenty of ideas, plenty of people, but we don't see them well enough. They don't go to market. And I'll finish on there is, I was yesterday in a meeting in a government-owned organization in Singapore. They said, so we know all the tech, but to actually draft the RFP, so the tender documents, for us, it's a nightmare because we know precisely what we need, but we can't write it. We can't say, this is what we need. They have to circumvent and just write it in a way that it's open. And then they lose so much time in going through these tens of proposals when they know precisely they only need one, but they can't write it in that way. So that's also one thing in terms of infrastructure on how these little startups can compete with someone who has a $10 billion revenue. It's very difficult. It's very difficult. So that's, I think, one thing that needs to be nurtured and structured in a better way to help these startups go to market and develop quicker.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I think Eric has something to compliment.
Yeah. I just want to. I found it quite interesting what Adrian said there with, and I can just reinforce this. I mean, I get literally 10, 20 emails per day from different companies trying to sell products, and it's impossible to look at. But I would just like to say one thing that's really important. Scalability is very important, and also for us, I don't know what it's called in English, but open interface. Do you know what I mean? Like, we cannot have locked systems anymore. So anyone with, hey, just use our product in our 900 buildings, yeah, dream on. That is not going to happen either if it's a locked system, because we don't know if your company is going to be there in 5 years. Then it's an enormous risk for us as a company. So we have to have also diversity, and that the tech that we put in is actually flexible, and that we can upgrade with connected with different building management systems or what it is. So that's also, this whole locking in, just use us, is a huge risk for a big real estate company to depend on one tech and a closed system. I would also like to say.
Thank you, Eric, and help us also wrap up this session. So thank you very much for all the speakers, for all the invaluable insights shared with us.
Hey, Edward, so really appreciate you moderating this panel. We have been able to get really amazing insights from our panelists. But hey, this is not the end of the session. In the second half or actually it's not half anymore, but in the second half of the event, we love to host the roast session, where obviously Edward will be talking about Monitair solution, and then he'll be getting brutal feedback from the panelists. So Edward, are you ready to share your screen and talk about Monitair solution so that we can get some real honest feedback from our panelists?
Yes, I would love to.
Please go ahead.
I hope you can see this. So let me give you a little bit of background of what Monitair likes to achieve. We are basically a unified indoor air quality solutions company, very much concerned on health for our clients. So our vision is really to be able to build our solution where our clients will be comfortable monitoring data, and at the same time use it as actionable actions to improve any kind of indoor air quality that they need to. So a quick scan of our background. We started in 2020. The technology itself is from Israel, and we have been doing the Greater China side, starting from the government, the property developers, corporates, schools, and NGOs. So we have offices worldwide, and currently in Asia, we are Hong Kong based. And the problems we're trying to solve is poor air quality consists of quite a lot of things, which all the specialists here understand. So I would like to point out it's not only about COVID. I mean, I still have or see clients or staff which have COVID, but then treat it as flu. So how can we really improve or keep it as a standard of a nice and hygiene environment indoors? So that's what we are set out to do. So we offer a solution. So not only just an air treatment device and we walk away from clients, we would also have a comprehensive sensors and also dashboard system. The way that we like to illustrate here is these devices can be treated all the way from the upstream of the AC system all the way down to the downstream. And the objective is really to protect the occupants inside the building. And that resonates well with having a healthy workplace. So there are a couple of things which bipolar ionization can do. Is actually a nature's natural phenomenon. So our device can emit ions, which in the space, what it can do, if it's a pathogen, basically it can help reduce the risk to human beings. It can also help enlarge particulate matters like the PMs, especially awful in northern China area. We're doing quite a lot of projects there as well. And then we are able to handle some foul smells as well. So these tests have been accredited by worldwide different laboratories. The device installation are extremely easy and also quite handy and small. We are serving mostly our clients, I would say maybe 10-20% are new build projects. The rest of them are retrofits. So the retrofits don't touch too much about their interior design, but then the devices are quite simple to install. And I like to show you how we are different. We like to give our client a viewpoint of their current condition. So a lot of sensors companies, they do that. In fact, for us, we don't make these sensors. We actually also resell them. So in this case, we are working with Airthings, which is a Norway company. We find them, they are reset and also well standard, so complements well with our kind of a premium grade of customers. As you can see, the first two stages would be from monitoring, doing the analysis, and then we do the treatment. And then at the end, we actually show the difference in terms of data. So we see it as a full journey, as a complete feedback loop where we have a hand-in-hand relationship with our customers to continuously improve the environment. The technology itself, I don't want to go into very detail, but any kind of technology we need to be concerned is it consistent enough to be able to produce safe to humans these type of ions. So in this case, it passed all the ozone tests which are required at the UL side. So rather than technology, the kind of value we are bringing to our clients based on two fronts. One is at the customer side, it will be basically the premises they visit, they will be quite ensured that it's hygienic. It also helps with the staff health and productivity. And in terms of operation side, it tremendously reduces the workload for the staff to, for example, if it is an air filter, you still need to replace the filter, purchase it, and have a person put on the calendar every 3 months, they need to clean it. For our system, it's basically a hands-free. It's a 10-year, we put it inside the air duct without having to do any kind of maintenance. It has a self-cleaning mechanism on the device. So I like to quickly go through, because I like also to hear questions from you. Some of the cases that we have worked on. So for this case, we are very much also concerned about the United Nations SDG goals. So we have been working with property development companies. So for this case, it's about 150 staff who are in a retail mall. They station there, property management, securities people. It's a canteen and also a changing room. So during the COVID time, you know, they really need to and have improved the air system in there. So we're able to help them achieve some of their KPIs on the social side of the ESG. And we talked about we are linking very much to sustainability with healthy workplace. And one of the parameter would be a green building certification. So we also help a couple of buildings getting reset and also the WELL certification based on certain parameters on air quality improvement side. We also help a whole hotel and also a membership club, which is called a Soul House, while they were doing the renovation. So we completely help them ensure there's a hygiene environment to make sure their guests are safe. So some of the real kind of installation, these happen in the air handling unit room. So it's quite easy for a 20,000 square feet office. We are able to install it, just plug in with the electricity and then off it goes. We also find fresh air in our part of the Asia, especially in the North China. It is not supposedly, you know, very clean. So these devices can also help reduce the risk of the PM 2.5s going into our bodies. So as you can see, we help out in public areas. This is a government place which open to public. So we did it from the renovation side. So everything is kind of hiding out. You can't really see it very well. It is also a space which we weren't really paying too much attention until COVID, which is lifts. We able to handle the smells. So obviously it can be doing it in the toilet, removing the ammonia smell. Also in transport. And lastly, on the agricultural side, so these are tests that are done on tomatoes. So they are very susceptible to bacterial growth. So with the solution, we're able to reduce the bacterial growth on these. So that wraps up my my side of the story. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Edward. Let's see if you are ready for some difficult questions from our panelists.
Yes.
Who wants to go first?
I've got one because it's actually very relevant to one of the projects we're working on. So Monitair is installed within the AHU, correct?
It can be, yes. It comes in different forms. The AHU will be actually at the supply air duct side of the AHU unit.
Okay, so my question. So I mean, I see your tech as useful in a number of ways, particularly in the sort of healthcare sort of use cases that I have in mind. My question is when you go and touch the AHUs and the ducts that are provided by other vendors, companies, do they have an issue? Like, for example, we as a platform will go and have to go and tweak the BMS points, and these BMS controllers are made by vendors, right? So you need authorizations, paperwork to make sure that since they manage the entire building management system, that you have all the authorities. Do you have the same issues when you go and have to touch the actual hardware provided by other vendors within a building?
Yes, what you touch on, I think there are two areas. One is existing infrastructure, where it touches other supply side, and then the other one is really for the facility management side to monitor the performance. So that would bring in the connectivity side. So some of the projects what we have done, in fact, as you know, in the AHU unit, one of the primary the functions would be to first of all supply the clean air, but also at the same time it would get return air, so it will do the air sanitization there, whether it is filter or UVC light, which are more the technology that we know. What we found is that some of these customers, because they are looking at new technology which can help them upgrade, so our device can sit quite comfortably in just air ducts. So these air ducts are assets from the clients, but it doesn't belong to any kind of other vendors. So we are currently working on with this type of model. But you are correct, which when we talk about the elevators, because those elevators are run by the suppliers, and why we can still put it in, I think the client side, they see the value where they needed protection because it's congested area, people touching buttons, they may, pathogens would be there. So yeah, so there are several areas which I think when we talk to the customers, I think what is more important or what is more important on their plate, we would try to solve that problem first. So I don't know if I can answer your question completely.
No, yeah, that's fine. That's fine. Thank you.
Okay.
Great, Jim. Next question.
Yeah, I have a few questions. Maybe some feedback. I think it's great that you link with WELL. We've been working with WELL certifications myself. So I think that is very, very good. Just when I Google online now quickly, it says there might be an issue with ozone produced from this process. So that's one of my questions. What is actually I have a few questions. So one is the ozone. What's the situation with air? And then sometimes when we're working with these monitors, it's kind of hard to determine what is good. So yeah, we make efforts to make the air better, but is it good? Does it become a great environment that, yeah, now we can put a stamp on it and say, now we have a quality indoor environment that everyone is healthy, or is it just a little bit better? So that's also one of the questions. And then the third questions that we starting to have a lot of issues with is battery change. The more sensors we put up and they're not wired and they're running on battery, at least here people complain a lot. I mean, changing batteries on hundreds and thousands of sensors is a challenge. So it's better if they can be wired in general.
Yes,
That's
thank you.
necessary.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you for all the questions and the compliment on the well certification. I think that's where our company's DNA also is aligned to. We like to work with customers who are already set the targets quite high. They would like global standards. So that's where we also come in, because the air treatment devices that we provide can actually help improve the parameters which are set under well. In particularly would be on the PM 2.5, PM 10, and also the TVOC. So I think that's on the well side. I think the first question is on ozone, right? There are two types of devices which would also clean the air, right, so to speak. So the device or the technology we use, we call ionization. And then another way will be using ozone. So there will be like ozonization, right? So we don't talk about that because that's obviously harmful to human body. And the device that we have the UL certification, so that complies with the WHO health standards. So it's not harmful to human bodies, even though the machine it is on. So that takes care of that, I guess. The second would be, you are asking about the sensors, what kind of parameters would be good. I think, it's a very good question, because over the years, what we've been doing is continuously work with customers. I think previously, some of your speakers also mentioned about, having comfort for our clients in the space. So it also can tie into energy saving side as well, because these sensors now, they can, as you know, can measure CO2s, if there's anybody in that area, light, any kind of noise. So not only the IQ parameters, which we normally measure. So it is a continuous effort, I would say, but at least we like the approaches to have the customer first install the sensors, understand the current situation, and then tell us how far up the bar they like to jump. And then we would try to, we would help them. And then going to your third question, I think it's on the battery change. That's a very good one, because we also find that sensors which are on battery side, the data collection normally is not as frequent as the ones that is continuous plugged in. So we find that the data interval is around between 5 to 10 minutes, it would get a data point. And normally, as the supplier said, it can last between 1.5 years to 2 years. We do have project sites that can last that long, but we also see some project sites which require change within 1 year. And then we start to question. And what we found is that because these battery operated sensors, they need to send the data to so-called like a router, a hub. And at times that connectivity doesn't work well, then what would happen is it actually drains a lot of the battery from the sensor side. So we know that is a problem as well.
But Edward, is there long-term research on ionized particles and because ozone-free ionization is relatively new. There are a few people who are trying to do that, and when you actually throw out the particles in an open environment, they're bound to react with something or the other, right? It's not possible that they don't react with anything. There is a possibility of reactions to happen. And second, what are the long-term studies on human consumption of ionized particles?
No, that's a very good question, because if all the engineers which needs to comply with heating, ventilation, the HVAC kind of association, we would go back to the United States ASHRAE. And their latest suggestion, they have been looking at the technology, and like you said, it's relatively new. So they would caution clients with care when they try out these equipments. And they specifically said, and you're very much right on, are two things. One is making sure these ion device producers would not have harmful to human body. So that would be the ozone. So first of all, it doesn't emit ozone or other harmful gases. So how do we find out, right? So that comes to the second point. Second point would be in the lab in Israel, what we have done is basically a 2 weeks real space. There's around 50 square meters of space. So the first week is sort of like a normalized condition. We don't turn our device on and then have a lab to collect all the gases, in air. And then the second week we would turn on the device and also collect the gas, different types of gas. And then the findings are, as long as it is within safety level, so that means the ionization effect would not increase the risk of certain harmful gas to human bodies, then we conclude that it basically passes the test. So the test results are very good. It doesn't show any kind of harmful gas has risen to any kind of unsafe level. So yeah, so that's our findings. But thank you for the question.
Any questions from Ibrahim or from, yep, please go ahead. Ibrahim, did you have a question?
No, I don't have any question.
Okay.
As you remember, we had already a meeting about this one earlier. Remember, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's good. No question from your side. Any question from the audience side? Question or comment? Okay, I think there are no questions.
I have one more question, just one
Please.
observation. At least here we're sort of finding that the VOC or the TVOC value is kind of, I don't know, not very useful. You have someone with perfume or a copy machine and it just sets off completely. So for us, PM is better than VOC. Do you find value in the VOC measurement?
I think what you mentioned, there are two areas, because every time we do tests, because the ionization can really help on both aspects, we see especially the PM, it helps a lot because the technology itself, what it does because of the ionizer is basically ionizing the molecules, right? So positive or negative, and it would just naturally adhere to itself. So the particles become larger. So in our sensors, it is very evident that we see a subparticle of the PM 2.5. We have seen in the grade A commercial building, which have LEED or WELL certification, new buildings, the building itself is very efficient. They reduce 30-40% of the PMs, yet we can still further reduce 15%, 20% of the PM. So those are the test results that we have done, which is very encouraging. TVOC side, you are right, because it's very much in the air and it can be affected by a lot of different situations. But I must say, having the sensor to be able to track it on a daily basis, and when we communicate back, with the customer, they can actually tell us at certain days why the TVOC are high. I think that would resonate with any kind of facility management companies, because when they do the cleaning, sanitization, they may use some alcohol-based kind of solution, and the TVOC will shoot up, off the roof. But then our concern is really about, once that cleaning has been completed, how quickly it can drop back down to the normal level. I think that's what we are concerned with. And it shows bipolar ionization can help reduce the TVOC to the safe level very quickly, much quicker than if you don't have the device on, for example.
Thanks a lot, everybody, for joining today's panel. Thanks to the panelists for sharing fantastic insights on how do you see the innovations disrupting the space. Thanks to Edward for taking all the questions, answering them. I must say that the questions were not really brutal. Feedback was not really brutal for Edward. It was very soft. You guys were very generous, very polite. So thanks a lot for that. But I'm sure that this is not the end of this conversation. We will keep reconnecting every now and then. Please connect with each other. Please connect with me or with Edward to see how we can collaborate in the future. If we can help you out in some way, that would be real pleasure. So thanks a lot, everybody. Appreciate your time today, and let's reconnect soon. Take care. Stay safe.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.